This year, Easter also comes in the middle of a divisive presidential election, and that is highlighting a shift in Americans' views on faith and politics. My next guest is a U.S. Senator, but he's also a preacher, and he's the author of a new book, A Way Out of No Way, a memoir of truth, transformation, and the new American story. Here with me now is Senator and Reverend Raphael Warnock. Happy Easter. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, sir. You are going to be leading services at the Ebenezer Baptist Church this morning, of course, where Martin Luther King Jr. preached. What is the meaning of this day to you personally, and what will your Easter message be for your congregants?
Well, good morning, Dana, and happy Easter, everyone. In just a little while, I will go into my pulpit and do what preachers will be doing all across the world, and that is to put the timeless message, Easter message of hope and resurrection and restoration into a contemporary context. The good news of Easter is that evil and injustice will not have the last word in this world. On this very day, a bad Friday became a good Friday. Transformation is possible. Truth crushed to earth will rise again.
You describe yourself as a Matthew 25 Christian, referring to the Gospel of Matthew when Jesus told his disciples, "I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was a stranger and you welcomed me in." That message of caring for strangers and being welcoming toward people of all different backgrounds seems like a pretty central tenet of Christianity. Do you think that this country, people, not just here and around the world, have gotten away from that view of religion?
Well, indeed, as you point out, your treatment of the neighbor and taking care of those who are most marginalized is a central tenet of the gospel. Jesus lifts it up in Matthew 25. But if you actually go through the scriptures, you'll see that there's some 2,000 verses in the scripture that talk about how to treat the poor. Sadly, you wouldn't know that listening to some of the loudest Christian voices in America today that are often mean to poor people in the name of faith. I don't know what Bible they're reading. Jesus said in his first sermon, quoting the Hebrew prophet Isaiah, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he's anointed me to preach good news to the poor." That is the core of my faith, and it is something that I've tried not only to express in the pulpit, but to events every single day as I represent the people of Georgia in the United States Senate.
Senator, the former president, the Republican candidate for president again, Donald Trump, is marking this Holy Week by posting a video. He did so encouraging people to buy a $60 Trump-endorsed Bible. Listen to what he said.
All Americans need a Bible in their home, and I have many. It's my favorite book. It's a lot of people's favorite book. I'm proud to endorse and encourage you to get this Bible. We must make America pray again.
The group selling that Bible says it paid to license Trump's name and image, which means he's making money off the sales. What do you make of that?
The Bible does not need Donald Trump's endorsement, and Jesus, in the very last week of his life, chased the money changers out of the temple, those who would take sacred things and use them as cheap relics to be sold in the marketplace. The sad thing is that none of us are surprised by this. This is what we expect from the former president. If he's not selling us steaks, he's selling us a school whose degree is not worth the paper that it's written on. If he's not selling us a school, he's selling us sneakers, and now he's trying to sell the scriptures. At the end of the day, I think he's trying to sell the American people a bill of goods. And that worked in 2016, although he did not win the popular vote even in 2016. It did not work in 2020, and I don't think it's going to work in 2024.
I don't know if you've seen, but this Bible that Donald Trump is selling also includes the Declaration of Independence, the Pledge of Allegiance, the Constitution. Experts say that this is in line with a growing embrace on the right of Christian nationalism, which is the idea that the United States should be a Christian country. What do you think about that movement and Trump's apparent embrace of it?
Well, I'm a proud American. I love my country, and one of the tenets of my country that I love is the separation of church and state. And so I try to use my faith and the values derived therefrom to participate in a pluralistic democracy that embraces the great tenets, I think, that are lifted up by many faith traditions: love, justice, equity, compassion for the neighbor. Donald Trump is doing what he's always done. And this time it's a risky bet because the folks who buy those Bibles might actually open them up where it says things like, "Thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not bear false witness," where it warns about wolves dressed up in sheep's clothing. I think he ought to be careful. This is risky business for somebody like Donald Trump.
I don't know if you've heard your friend, Reverend William Barber, speak about this, but he says that Christian nationalism attempts to sanctify oppression and not liberation. He calls it a form of heresy. What do you think? I mean, is this a concept which seems to be growing something that you see as dangerous?
Well, again, I believe in the separation of church and state, and sadly, in our country in this moment, we're seeing religion being used again as one more proxy, as a tool in the culture wars. And very often it is hidden in the language and the clothing of religion. But Jesus said, "You'll judge a tree by the fruit it bears." I judge the depth of people's piety not based on their pronouncements, not based on them using the Bible as a symbol, but how do they treat the poor? How do they treat the most marginalized? Those are the people that Jesus centered, and that is the faith that I embrace every single day, and it's something that is sorely needed in our country in this moment in which those who have no vision are trafficking in division.
Republicans are attacking President Biden for recognizing today as Transgender Day of Visibility. I want to be very clear. This day, this Transgender Day of Visibility, is always on March 31st, has been since 2009. This president has marked it every year since he's been in the White House. The date of Easter changes year to year. I don't need to tell you that. The House Speaker called Biden's announcement abhorrent and said he betrayed the central tenet of Easter. What do you say to that?
Well, apparently the speaker finds trans people abhorrent. And I think he ought to think about that. The fact of the matter is, as you said, March 31st has been a day to lift up transgender people who endure violence and bigotry. Easter, the date changes every single day. But this is just one more instance of folks who do not know how to lead us, trying to divide us. And this is the opposite of the Christian faith. Jesus centered the marginalized. He centered the poor. And in a moment like this, we need voices, particularly voices of faith, who would use our faith not as a weapon to beat other people down, but as a bridge to bring all of us together. That is what Martin Luther King Jr. did. And I'm honored to preach from that pulpit every single day. It is a faith that guides me in my work as a United States Senator, trying to cap the cost of insulin so folks can afford it, trying to make sure first-time homeowners can buy a home, and that our children are not so awashed in student debt that they have a mortgage before they have a mortgage. This is how my faith informs me every single day.
Senator, Reverend Raphael Warnock, thank you so much for being here again, especially on this holy day. Appreciate it. Happy Easter.